12:05 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. That music means it's time to get Helping Seniors of Brevard underway. I'm John Harper. Jim Votro is here. Let's introduce the host of the show and the executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard. Here is none other than Kerry Fink. Hi, Kerry.
Hey, John Harper. Thank you. It's always fun to be here on Wednesday because that is our lunchtime gathering right here on the radio, 90.3 FM, WEJF. And for those who are listening online, WEJF.net, welcome. And for those of you who capture this as a podcast sometime when it's convenient for you, we also welcome you. One of the reasons we love to take the radio shows and turn them into podcasts is because when we talk about something that has good meaning for seniors or those who love and care for them, oftentimes the program material is like perfect. And then somebody will say, oh, this is so good. Fred needs to hear this, and then they can just give Fred the link, and Fred can hear about this, because today we're going to be talking about volunteering opportunities for seniors that could be helping with seniors. And so really a fun topic on tap today, and we have somebody that is no stranger to Helping Seniors Radio. He's been a friend of Helping Seniors back in the day, just like John Harper, you did. You guys both helped. Joe launched this whole thing, Helping Seniors, 15 years ago, and both of you guys were helping get Brevard Alzheimer's and Joe's Clubs and all those things built. So you guys both have a tremendous track record of helping seniors. So thank you both for your service, but welcome Bill Johnson, board-certified elder law attorney, to the broadcast. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, Kerry.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, you know, we've been at this for a minute, 15 years. I remember when I met Joe, I just met him at the time that he was launching this, and after all the good work that he'd done building up the Brevard Alzheimer's, and he said, there's much more work to be done for seniors. And that was 15 years ago, Bill, and here we are.
Oh, my God.
Here we are, 15 years later, and I think if he said that today, he would be right. There's more work to be done for seniors.
Yeah, and me and John have been at it even longer than that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like, you know, and I remember, I didn't know much about seniors at the time because, you know, at that time, we were just in the process of becoming caregivers for our own moms. And I remember saying to Joe, I said, well, what are you intending to do with helping seniors? He said, what I learned in Brevard Alzheimer's was that many families do have challenges with cognition and things like that. But he says every family needs some way to guide their way through the challenge that seniors run into. And he said, we need senior navigation because most people are running into this for the first time, and we got to help them get pointed in the right direction. And so here we are. All those years later, we've operated the County Senior Information Helpline for 15 years. I'm going to give you that number, so it's a great number that you want to keep really handy, 321-473-7770, 321-473-7770. And as both you and John know, last year we took over 4,500 calls from seniors and families about everything, housing, legal, medical, transportation, you name it. We probably took a call on it, and that keeps Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director, who is like you guys. She was helping Joe back in Brevard Alzheimer's days too. So everybody has been associated with this for quite the long time.
Kerry, you might be the new kid on the block.
I am the new kid. I would say I'm the youngster, but I'm not sure. It's all good. But, you know, it really is important because when you run into senior things, you don't know what to do. And Bill, that's been your practice. You've helped families like, you know, we've talked about how many times on the radio we have talked about seniors and their families should get in touch with your office early on when planning is easy. There's no stress. It's inexpensive. You can set things up the right way. And yet at the same time, you're very effective at helping families when they get into trouble because they didn't do their planning. And we spend so much time talking about it, but this is the kind of senior navigation. It's why we do the radio. It's why we do the TV. We publish in Senior Scene every month, and we're always trying to get information in the hands of seniors so it's going to help them and hopefully help them think about getting in touch with things that they might need before it becomes a crisis, Bill.
And that's key. You know, half of what we do is crisis management, but if you can get in early, we can avoid a lot of that.
Yeah, we do a lot on the education side, and I think maybe some of that comes out from the fact that through the process of answering, if you think about it, 15 years at basically 4,500 calls a year, that's a lot of calls. And so over time, we've really gotten a good kind of, I guess I would call it a bead on what the issues are that seniors need help with. And I remember, Joe, we had done a survey back in 2015. And he said, Kerry, he said, what we learned from this senior needs survey was that nothing has changed. He said, when I was building the Brevard Alzheimer's up, he said, we did a survey. And he said, the needs are really pretty much the same. And a lot of it comes down to knowing where to go to get the information. And so his vision for helping seniors, which is very much what we do today, is all about helping people. Joe called it an aging plan. We understand a hurricane plan. You don't want a storm. You just want to be ready. And that's kind of what Joe had in mind. So we euphemistically call it getting your ducks in a row. But it's so important, Bill, that people think about some of these things before they run into them.
I totally agree with you. And, I just saw something today about probates, and they're working on legislation to try and streamline the process more. But they said, as far as court cases go, criminal cases are down, family cases are down, probates are way up.
Wow.
Like statewide, I think they had 56,000 last or a couple of years ago. Now we're up to 78,000 cases, just because they're not making any less seniors. We are actually in the middle of a demographic wave, so needs have gone up dramatically. Yeah. And that's why we're still talking about the same issues.
To that point, whenever we get an opportunity to go out and share about helping seniors and what we try to accomplish in the world here in Brevard County, we always start with the statement, we're 100% local to Brevard, because Joe is always a big proponent, there's nothing wrong with a national charity. It's not against that. But particularly with the things that we run into in the senior world, you need to know who local resources are. Bill, you and I have talked about so many times, one of the things that I usually counsel against, and I talk about this when it comes to people who see commercials online about, just do your will online in 10 minutes, and just pay, you don't have to pay an attorney for this. You and I have talked through so many horror stories where that went horribly wrong. At the time, it needed to be correct, and then it wouldn't work. But we talk about that, as it pertains to people calling 800 numbers for Medicare information because they love the actor that they used to see on TV in the 1970s. And really, the point is you need a local network of people that you can get a hold of and trust. And so what Joe was talking about all those years ago was building a set of resources that when somebody would call our senior information helpline, that we would be able to give them a number of paths to pursue to get some resolution to whatever they were running into. And again, I remember at first saying to Joe, does this really work? We can't, most people, call in and if there's a financial need, well, this is not that kind of an organization. We're way too small for that. But over time, I learned from Joe, and I said, Joe, this is really like a little engine that could, because when you're confronting these problems and you don't know which direction to go, somebody this is not their first rodeo. They have been down this path before, and they can lead and guide you. And I think, I'm just thinking about it in your own role as a board-certified elder law attorney. Not only do you help families here, but you've even been like the head of the whole elder law department for the Florida Bar Association, and you've invested yourself in learning all the things that are going on legislatively. But when you can talk to somebody who has real wisdom about this makes all the difference when you're trying to either prevent a problem or solve a problem.
And especially a local problem.
Yes.
You gave the example of, you can sign up online and get your will done. Well, who owns that company? Most of those companies are owned out of California. They're funded by tech millionaires, billionaires, and all that money that they make goes to California. And so again, shopping local and helping solve local problems is really what we're all about.
Yeah, and I know we've done TV and radio where we've talked about the fact that Florida is one of these states that people want to come to. We have great sunshine, and apparently there seems to be a great influx of people who are just looking to Florida as a state that they want to enjoy their golden years in. And so I guess one of the points of that is that we've talked about so often people will move in from other states and don't realize maybe some of the legal benefits that accrue to them by being a Floridian. And I know we've talked about, the very fact that homestead exemptions are strong here. And so part of your role is helping people navigate when they've been used to, maybe they had a great attorney up north or out west where they're from, but they now need to understand how that can work for them here in Florida.
And that impacts our community resources as well. Mm-hmm. When you have such a transient population of people moving to somewhere from all over the country, they don't necessarily have that deep-rooted connection to where they move to.
Yeah.
And subsequently, when you look at work charities do, they don't necessarily have that base of support that they would if you were, born, living, and dying in the same county. If you move here from somewhere else, you may not be aware of what charities around here, what charities need help, what work they do, that kind of thing.
To your point, again, that's a point every time we get an opportunity to go out and share about and advocate for seniors, whether it be in a church setting. Sometimes we get involved to civic groups, and they want to hear about this. In fact, Nancy, while we're on the radio, she is actually giving a talk today for a civic group that wants to come in. And one of the things we always point out is there's more seniors than ever before. First of all, more people are just flat turning 65. But the other issue is people are just flat living longer. So on the other end, we just have more seniors. But then the third factor here in Florida is so many people move into Florida. And to your point, Bill, they don't really know where to start. They may have had a great support system, like in the Midwest where they came from or whatever. And now they're trying to figure out, well, what's different here in Florida? And we've talked about that even as far as the legal side of it goes. That's very much a state. Each state sets how they want to manage that stuff. And particularly like we talked about with all the elder stuff, that really is almost universally state by state, right?
Correct.
So when you move here and you don't know who to call, where to call, worse yet, who to trust, that's, it's difficult because I often make the statement that if you go online and you're trying to search an answer to a problem, you could wind up more confused than you started with because, first of all, you don't know if the data is current. You don't know if this business is still in business. You don't know if they're local in Florida. You don't know if they know about Florida. We counsel all the time when people call these 800 numbers, they're talking to a call center in the Midwest someplace for sake of discussion. And while they may be trying to do the best that they can, they're still at the end of the day doing an internet search for whatever it is you call them about. Why not talk to somebody who's local,
Correct.
Who knows what's going on?
I totally agree with you. So, yeah, helping seniors of Brevard, what do you guys need help with?
So, as a charity, I thank you for asking that because one of the things that we want to talk about is, as we open up the show with, Joe's whole vision for helping seniors was we are here to help seniors navigate to where they need to go from. And so our stats, Bill, are 4,500 is actually 4,554, some number like that. Calls last year on the Senior Information Helpline. I'm going to give that number again so you can jot it down. 5,400?
No,
it was 4,554.
Okay.
So basically call it 5,000 calls, give or take. But these are some other factors in there. We handled more than 4,000 inquiries by email because a lot of times people will go to our website, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org, and they'll type in, here's my question. And a lot of times the interaction happens through that contact form there. People will message us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're even on X for that matter. And then we have a YouTube channel. So people are all the time asking questions. We had over 4,000 inquiries online last year.
Wow.
And we had over 1,200 people because we have a senior resource center there at 1344 South Apollo Boulevard. They gave us a big chunk of the second floor. It says Omni Medical Care on the side of the building. I think the official name is the Apollo Professional Tower. But we had over 1,200 people come through along the way. And sometimes they were there specifically for us. Sometimes they were just in the building because they had a doctor's appointment and said, "Oh, what do you guys do? I need help with this." And then that starts a conversation. So if you add it up, Bill, it's someplace around 6,000 to 8,000 interactions with the public. And that doesn't even count when we go out and start meeting people. We're always at senior expos and things like that. We are always, as you know, our big fundraiser every year is the car raffle. So we're meeting people at car shows, arts festivals, wherever we can get a foot in edgewise, because as a nonprofit, we're always concerned about raising money and keeping Joe's vision going. I always tell people we can't go any farther than you will help us do. And so when we're trading emails, say, what should we talk about today? We should talk about volunteering, you said, for agencies. And so what does helping seniors need? What we need, well, always number one is we need funding, because funding is what keeps, even though we're a very small organization and we're, as you know, Joe always ran it as thin to the bone, because we want to make sure that any funds raised were going directly into the services that seniors need. So we haven't strayed from that at all. That's exactly who we are and what we do. But now that we have a center, that center houses our information line, Bill. It is where we respond to emails. We have a little podcast studio in there. We have a number of businesses who either keep main offices or additional offices. They can meet clients there. We do a lot of education programs there. And then, of course, we take those education programs on the road. So we need people who are also willing to volunteer their time, Bill, people who can give us, we don't ask a lot, but if you'll give us a few hours a week, we have programs that, Nancy Deerdorf, who's our operations director, she loves to train somebody. Some people say, well, I love to be on the phone. Other people say, I hate to be on the phone. I'd rather be out meeting people. And so we have all kinds of volunteer opportunities, Bill.
Well, that's interesting you raise that, because I ran across this the other day, and don't ask me how, but James 2, 14 through 26, faith without works is dead.
There you go.
Yeah, and so, this, I guess, Wikipedia quote says that, that getting out and doing loving actions, good deeds, actions, and obedience, and helping people. So if you're looking for an opportunity to put it out there and be of service to your community, that's an excellent opportunity.
I've heard it said many times, people who do the volunteering, they love the work because it actually gives them a real purpose. Maybe you're in a position where you are able to manage the things that you need to manage as an older adult. And the interesting thing, Bill, is not all of our volunteers are seniors. We have, for example, we've really been investing a lot into a program that we call Senior Planet Tech Talks. It's actually something that we started this like a year ago, but now we've partnered together with AARP on this program called Senior Planet. What's great about that is they have developed over 200 courses that are designed to help seniors get comfortable with technology. So of all things, Bill, we have a millennial. Her name is Bree Prentice, and I think she just celebrated her 30th birthday. And her passion is teaching older adults how to make use of the technology that we're required to use. So, for example, on April 10th, we have a Senior Planet workshop called Cloud Storage. And so one of the things that universally people will come up with their mobile phones and go, well, it's telling me I'm out of space. I don't know. I have to get rid of pictures or something. And so everybody's very confused about these issues. But this is a 30-something who's willing to volunteer her time out of her work program to come in and share this information. And part of why she says that she likes to do this, she says, I have a foot in both generations. She goes, I'm old enough that I wasn't born with an iPad in my hand. and so everything that I know, I had to learn, the same as a senior might have to do. And yet at the same time, she said, I really get enjoyment out of showing people kind of, if you will, the light about, because, you know, the doctor wants you to check in for your appointment on your app. They want you to see if your prescription is ready on your app. And most seniors don't even know what's an app, you know? And so then what, you know, usually the doctor says, oh, get your grandkid to explain it to you. But that's not, they'll oh, give me the phone, mom, let grandmom, let me do this. And it doesn't really, you know, it's the old teach a man, you know, feed them, they're good for today. But if you teach them, then they know how to fish for the rest of their lives. And that's kind of it. So volunteers don't, by definition, Bill, have to be seniors.
And without that lady doing that, you wouldn't have that program.
Right. Right. And so it's programs like that. But then we have so many people who volunteer their time to help Nancy manage the Senior Information Helpline, because you can imagine with the amount of calls we take every year. And I want to be clear about this. People sometimes say, are you guys like Brevard 211, which is an excellent service? They're pretty much a referral service. So they're trying to get you to a good number to go at, whereas on a good day, we can give somebody a number and say, have a nice day, but that very rarely happens. Usually, the situations are complex, they're thorny, nobody's sure what to do next. So we'll start with a series of like, let's try this, this, and this. And then let's talk 2 days from now after you made a couple calls and see if that moved the needle. If not, let's see what else we can do. And so we found also, by the way, to work through, we call them cases, but each care management case actually can take up to like 7 calls. But think about it, back and forth. We give some numbers, we talk. Did that help? No. Okay, let's try this. Did that help? And it can be back and forth several different times.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you're finding a solution, not just, you know, here's a number, have a nice day.
Yeah, exactly. Because if, you know, and I will say this, you know, and you know this, Bill, even better than I do from your perspective, senior issues can be very, very thorny, very complicated. And so, and I think also it's fair to say everybody's situation is unique. You can look for common patterns and maybe common ways to solve stuff, but everybody has a unique set of circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, just like senior housing, you could end up dealing with, you know, 5 or 6 different agencies.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Well, we're talking with board-certified elder law attorney Bill Johnson of the law office William A. Johnson. Great resource in our community. You're going to be out, we're going to take a mid-show break, but you're going to be out at the Boomer Fest, I think, too, right? Coming up?
I think so.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that, and we're going to talk more about volunteering in Brevard on the second half of the show. Stay with us right here.
12:32 in the afternoon right now here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard. Let's get back to more of the show. Here's your host, Kerry Fink, and his special guest, attorney Bill Johnson. Kerry?
Yeah, thanks very much, John Harper. And yeah, we're having a great conversation. We're talking about volunteering in helping seniors. And when I say volunteering in helping seniors, I mean in 2 levels. One, what you can specifically do and consider volunteering with us as Helping Seniors of Brevard County, Inc. That's our official legal name, Helping Seniors of Brevard County, Inc. We're 100% local to Brevard and serving our seniors here. We'll help anyone, but our focus is really right here locally, finding people resources or finding the resources that are going to help people navigate the issues they face. But then as we go through this segment of the program, too, we want to talk about some of the other great important work that other agencies are doing as well. So we're talking about helping seniors in general. And so I have the privilege of sitting together with great friend of Helping Seniors, board-certified elder law attorney Bill Johnson, and we were talking about a number of different things in the first part of the program, but in particular in the Helping Seniors world, since so much of our when people say, what do you guys do? How do you help seniors? I say most of us, our role is actually senior navigation. So by telephone, by internet, digital communication, whether it be emails or direct messaging or things like that, and a lot of time just through face-to-face interactions, we are trying to help seniors navigate and their families to solutions that are going to make a difference for them. And Bill, one of the things that we really encourage people who say, "Oh, I've got 2 to 4 hours a week, I could, volunteer some time." We would love to get you involved and learn what volunteering at Helping Seniors of Brevard looks like. So I'm going to give you the number in a moment, but if you call up, you'll ask for Nancy, or you might speak to one of our great volunteers too. But eventually you'll want to talk to Nancy Deerdorf because she's in charge of the volunteer training. It's fun. It's rewarding. It's fulfilling. We get the feedback from the people who do volunteer that this is maybe sometimes, you get just a really good feeling about when you can help somebody make a difference in their situation. And so, Bill, we're always encouraging people to give us a call and get involved in helping seniors. So I'm going to give that number. It's 321-473-7770. But you've watched this organization, over the years, and you knew Joe and kind of what Joe had set us up to do. So you see kind of the importance of the work that the folks who answer the phones are doing.
Well, I was going to say, if you're scared about volunteering, you guys are going to train them. Right?
Yeah. Okay. No, we don't say here's a phone.
Right.
In fact, it's rather the opposite. Nancy really wants to be careful before she gets somebody on the phone. So first of all, we always joke, Bill, that one of the most important tools that we have is we call it a resource book, and this is a large part of our job, is to find out what services are actually available for seniors. Because I can tell you how many times we get calls from somebody who says, well, I called over this place because they said they had this program, but then either they were out of money or they don't do that program anymore. And then we get calls the other way around where somebody isn't aware of a program that's brand new because it didn't get time to get printed out. And so one of the most important jobs that Nancy has is keeping our senior resource directory up to date. That is kind of a go-to resource that our volunteers access when they're helping seniors with their questions. And so back to your point, Bill, yeah, so you're not on your own. It's not like, oh, you're just going to pick up the phone and wing it. There's a lot of backup, and Nancy will do her best to make sure that you are not put in a position where you have to get in over your head. But that's why the training part is so important, Bill.
Good to know.
Yeah, so it starts there, but we also need help because we do a lot of events. We do them both there at our center. We'll do, for example, on the 9th of April, we're doing our Nourish Your Spirit lunch training fun class. So we have Chef Jillian with Chefs for Seniors, and she comes in and she basically leads the class together with Ellen Jones from Senior Helpers of Melbourne, which makes this whole thing possible. And what they do, Bill, is they come in and they do a cooking class is really what it is, but it's a cooking class that is consistent with what the doctor told you when you were there the last time. So she's trying to come up with easy to prepare, inexpensive to complete, and doctor approved kind of recipes. And the fun thing is she shows you how they cook them, and then you get to eat it. So it's kind of like lunch is included. So, but you have to RSVP. Now, because of that, we need volunteers who help us get the place ready for the folks, checking in and all that. So that's also part of the volunteers' role there. And then we do programs, like I mentioned in the first half, the Senior Tech Talk plan. Same thing. We got to have volunteers that help us literally, the old joke is like stack chairs and things like that. But we need people to help check in, and particularly because AARP has requirements where we're supposed to turn in some information so they know the program's working for them and all kinds of things like that. So we're always doing that. And then we also need, because we're out in the community, some people love to just get out and be about. So with our car raffle, we always need volunteers to help us show up, because we go to car shows, we go to all kinds of events where we set up our little booth and say, buy a raffle ticket, help us in helping seniors kind of thing. And then we're also doing education programs all the time out in the community. And we do a big one, Bill, called Scam Jam. The next one of those that we do, this is a good one to put on your calendar, is May 15th. We're going to be at the Brevard at Melbourne. And for example, we have Will Shiner, who's the state attorney, who's actually going to come and speak about, he does a great newsletter every month called the Monthly Brief, where he's talking about seniors and scams. But we have great folks who come in and share expertise on how not to get scammed. And those are big events. That room seats like 70 people, and it ends up being standing room only. So again, we can use volunteers who are willing to help us do check-ins and just participate in that. So if you have a question, you want to get involved in helping seniors, it's real simple. You can give us a call at 321-473-7770, 321-473-7770, and ask Nancy, say, I just heard you and Bill were talking about this. But Bill, we're not the only place in town that you can volunteer at. And one of the things that we've really tried to do is stress how important that it's not up to any one agency to do the work of seniors. We always say, like they say for kids, it takes a village. We say the same about seniors, Bill.
Yeah, one that pops into my mind is Aging Matters up in Cocoa.
Yes.
They do that Meals on Wheels, which is a vital service to seniors who can't get out. And they're always looking for drivers.
Right. And, it's interesting because we work so closely with Tom Cameron and the bunch at Aging Matters because, we're all about seniors. We agreed a couple of years back, like, we have got to work on this together. I want Brevard County to become known for how it takes care of seniors, that it is a good place who cares about its seniors. And this is what Tom and his whole team at Aging Matters has done. They are the Meals on Wheels resource. They are also a great resource. They have some transportation programs. Well, you and I were talking during the break. They have veterans who drive veterans, but you got to have volunteers who are willing to be part of it. And what's neat about some of the things that they do is they've got such a system down that you can just give them a sliver of time and it's going to make a big impact. They have handyman programs where they are installing grab bars and things like that. There's so many important things that Aging Matters does in this community. They are a great place to.
And even with the Meals on Wheels, they still have to prepare all that food. So they do need help in the kitchen and putting it together and packaging it.
Yeah, and the other thing, Bill, that as I learn more about the program, they do what they call congregate feeding, which means that they'll go to a senior center or something like that, and they'll set up and they'll serve lunch. So sometimes the actual individual delivery is so important. And I've asked Tom, I said, what's the thing that limits you? And he said, well, it's two things. One, we need more attention and we need more funding because there is actually a wait list right now in the county. If you call up and say, hey, I want Meals on Wheels, There is a wait list. That shouldn't even be the part of the equation, but there is. But the other reason that there's a wait list is not just budget related, but it's also they need help with drivers because, think about it, delivering that meal is not only the nutrition that they're going to get, it's also kind of a little bit of a well check. Like, and I've heard Tom tell the stories like they couldn't get somebody to come to the door. So then they get, the authorities involved and it saved lives because, somebody had fallen, they couldn't get up. And if somebody wasn't there to check on them, they would just stay there. So there's so much value to what happens with the Meals on Wheels program and everything there. We just got to get people involved in Aging Matters too.
The other one that came to my mind is the Alzheimer's Foundation.
Yeah, we opened up the show talking about that because you and John and Nancy, for that matter, you are all part of helping Joe get that established. They have 3 locations in the county. They call them Joe's Clubs. It's adult daycare, which means that if you're a caregiver you've got to find a way to get some respite. You've got to find a way to get some help. You got to take care of the stuff that's important to you because just like they tell you, Bill, when you get on the airplane, if you're going to help those in the seat around you in case of an emergency, you need to stick that oxygen mask on your face first because if you go out, you ain't going to help anybody.
Right.
And so getting caregivers some help is the right thing to do. But then, Bill, like we talked about, they also have a transportation program and a number of programs that help seniors and their families. And so they are always looking for volunteers as well at Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation. And so Russell Selt, who's the the head of that, and also Dorinda Hill, we call her Dory Hill, who is their education community. They are wonderful people who do so much good work in our community. In fact, they're the other people in town who do the big car raffle. Theirs happens in the spring. Ours happens in the fall. They've been kind enough to invite. We're actually going to get to bring our Helping Seniors car raffle out to their big event, which is coming up. I think it's April 22nd. I should probably double check that, but it's at the American Muscle Car Museum. So there's two great times a year to be out at the Muscle Car Museum. One is when we do ours, and you might as well put that date. It's October 25th, 2026. You want to be out there with us at the American Muscle Car Museum. But then the other event is actually when the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, they have a cool classic car that they will give away, and that actually happens later in April as well. So these are good places to these are great places to connect in with.
Yeah, and you mentioned transportation. That's another huge issue, like senior housing.
Yes. Yes. You know, and actually, for that matter, there are ways to get involved in the senior housing challenge as well. We just had a program with a great developer. His name is Dwight Bell, and he and his wife Angela have a ministry called Wings of Grace. And he's a pilot, a helicopter pilot. He's a pilot instructor and they have a school that they teach younger people how to learn how to fly and do it safely and all those things. But he's also a real estate developer, and he's been very active in trying to get involved with us and help us solve some of the senior crisis. So he's got a location right there in Melbourne called Capernaum Place, and what they're doing there, Bill, is opening up some senior affordable housing that folks, they actually can accept those Section 8 vouchers, which unfortunately, Bill, you can't even get on the waiting list. But people do have vouchers that they acquired, and then they can't even find a place because all the places are full. So there's lots of ways you can get involved and volunteer with that. Again, I would say on any of these things, you could call Aging Matters directly. You could call Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, great local focused charities.
That's what I was going to say. Everything that we're talking about is a direct service organization that, your volunteer work is right here in Brevard. Your donations stay right here in Brevard and do good work here.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Joe was really adamant about that it has to be local, because life really is lived local. Like even, when we watch TV shows and they may be national, like you and I open up the show, we said, a big thing that, we always talk against is those 800 numbers or those Google searches don't necessarily result in a good outcome, because even though the person may be trying to be helpful, a lot of times, well, first of all, whenever you're calling an 800 number, you don't know really if the organization is legit or not. But let's just say they are, then that they're trying to help. They still don't have the local background. So an example that I like to give a lot is when people start to look for senior living options, they'll see an ad on TV says, oh, we can, find a place for mom or dad or something like that. And it's great. You call them, but two things happen, and people don't really understand this. When you call that 800 number and you give them all your information, they just put you down, and then they contact all the assisted livings in the area. So you start getting bombarded with stuff from the assisted livings in the area. And worse, there's not somebody that's going to walk you through who has been through the front door of these places to help you figure out the better ones. We work with, for example, in Helping Seniors, we work with a lot of local people. What they do is they do that, but they do it locally. So they know the executive directors of these places. They know which ones are being run right. They've eaten the food at each place. So they know who has a good chef and who doesn't. They know what services really exist, not what they listed on the sell sheet, and they know who's good for taking care of which. And one of the ladies that we work with, her name, Bill, is Denise Bergman. She has a company called Senior Care Authority. And she said, Kerry, she said, my goal is to make sure that if we help a senior navigate to the right place. She goes, I want to be sure I don't have to move them in 30 days or 60 days because we got them to the wrong place, because that would be terribly stressful on the family. It's terribly stressful on the senior. Let's do it right the first time. And that's the kind of commitment that you get when you talk with local. And so back to your point about the charities, Bill, is like when you're working with a local charity, we're your neighbors. We're the ones trying to make life better for those of us who live here.
I totally agree with that. I think, service starts at home.
Yeah. And here we are. We were talking during the, for those of us who are Christ followers, this is Easter week, and you even quoted that thing and said, the Bible says without, faith without works is dead. And this is the point, is like, it doesn't matter if whether you agree on this or not, but here's the point. Some people just call it paying it forward, right? Some people say, oh, it's just karma, right? So you do.
Some people just call it being a good person.
I call it you reap what you sow. So sow something that you want to reap from and do that. And when you volunteer, you do get something back. It's very rewarding. Yes, and then at the end of the day, I think a lot of times, like, well, if I needed help, I sure would hope somebody was there to step in, and I think that's what's so important about this, that you are the answer. If you volunteer with one of these organizations, you're the answer to somebody's prayer, really.
Right.
And I don't think there's much more fulfilling thing to do than to get involved with that, because Joe always used to say, he was 91 when we lost him, and he always used to say, Kerry, getting old is not easy. He goes, not for the faint of the heart. And he would always say, but that's why this work is so important. You got to help people make this journey and do it as well as they can, given whatever they're up against. And I think that's the spirit of a volunteer. And so we have volunteers who are in their 70s. They're happy. They're actually glad that they can physically. There was one volunteer who was with us. His name was Bill, and he was somebody that worked up under when Karen was running the volunteer part. He was 96, and every time I would see him, I would go, I want to be you when I'm 96.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah, and he would come in, and he would do what he could. He was very mobile. He could still drive himself around, and he would come give us a couple of hours a week. And in particular, he was a blessing whenever we do events, because he would help greet people when they came in and make sure they, found snacks or knew where the restroom was and all those kind of things. He was just a great greeter. But at 96, can you imagine?
Oh, wow. And the interesting thing about volunteers is they all bring something unique to the table.
Yes. Yeah. That's a point. It's not only what we might ask you for help with, but you might spot something. Hey, guys, you could do this a lot better, or you could do this smarter, or I could help you organize it. We are, Lord knows, we are not the be-all, end-all for great ideas. We need all the help we can get from everybody. And sometimes people have a lot of skills to share. We talk about this with Lois Thomas, who is with Career Source Brevard, and she runs the Back to Work 50-plus program. And she talks about sometimes seniors, sometimes seniors need to go back to work. It's a financial issue. But she goes, many times it's just they want to find something fulfilling to do with their time. They did all this stuff, and they have all these skills.
You can only play so many rounds of golf.
Right. We had this conversation literally when Lois was guesting with us on the show. I said, to me, I'm not sure I understand the word retirement in a traditional sense, because it seems like you're going to hang up what you did for all those years, which I understand that can be a grind. I get that. But after a while, I've seen people get bored with retirement and say, well, I got to do something besides, sit around the house. Volunteering is a great way to do that, I think.
Yeah, it gets you out of the house, gets you active, keeps you in touch, socialization, all those great benefits.
There's another point. It keeps your mind off of you, right? When you're doing, I think that's a hidden benefit. When you're worried about helping somebody else, I know we all have our own problems, but it gets you off of you, and you're trying to help somebody else, and it's very fulfilling. And somehow then you find out your problem got solved somehow through all of that.
Yeah, whatever problem you have may be something somebody can help you with too.
Yeah, exactly. So there's nothing wrong with getting out and circulating a little bit, right?
Right.
So I would say call us at 321-473-7770 and say you heard Elder Law board certified elder law attorney Bill Johnson talking with Kerry about volunteering, and you want some more information. That's a great place to start this. But Bill, before we get away from here, I wanted to just make sure people know, because you do, it's not a volunteer, I know it's your business, but you do a lot in the community. And I think this thing that you publish every year in the Boomer Guide is a tremendously important resource. So there's a big event coming up April 24th. It's going to be at the Vieira Community Center. It is the Boomer Guide Expo. We're going to be out there as helping seniors. That's one of those great opportunities. We could use your help if you want to help us with a meet and greet guests as they come by. But you also are always very much a part of that, because in the center of the Boomer Guide, you publish something. Is it the answer book or
the Florida Long-Term Care Nursing Home Answer Book?
Right. And this book is so important because it is written in very easy layperson kind of language to help you start to at least read through and start thinking about those questions, so you at least know where to begin and the right question to answer. And of course, you can get that book if you show up at the Boomer Expo, because they're going to be handing out the Boomer Guides, and you can get one there. You may even be speaking there for all I know, but I know you speak a lot also at places like One Senior Place, where you're also always sharing things that people need to know about there. And we've said this before, you can call One Senior Place and they can tell you seminars that Bill Johnson's office is involved with, but they can also call your office or go to FloridaElderLaw.net, right?
FloridaElderLaw.net.
Okay, or if they want to call your office and say, I do have a legal question.
Okay, it's 321-253-1667.
Yeah, so board-certified elder law attorney Bill Johnson. Before we run out of time completely, I want to give you a couple of dates, because we've been throwing a lot of dates around here. So we already talked about the 9th as being Nourish Your Spirit. That's that great cooking event with Chef Jillian. It takes place right at our office at the Senior Resource Center. Then on the 10th, as we also talked about, we're going to have Bree Prentice come in and talk about cloud storage. And this is one that we've gotten a lot of. We've had actually people write us, because we always put this out on Eventbrite. We put this every place we can to let people know it's out there. And people are asking us, like, this is important. Tell me a little bit more about the class. So this is a good one to think about. And then always remember, on the 4th Thursday of every month, we have our Senior Information Education series, and we do two things. At 10 a.m. that day, we do Knowledge College for Aging, which is designed to help you make your aging plan. And we also do a wellness series, and we have a couple of neat guests who are going to be sharing their expertise at Knowledge College. Again, we're talking about Thursday, April 23rd. Carlos Cuesta with Synergy Home Care is going to be talking about getting good help at home. And Jamie and Amy Powell of Next Day Access, these are companies that do home modifications. So, if your goal is to age in place safely, you might need a ramp, you might need stair lift, you might need things. Don't call the 800 number on TV. Call somebody who's local. These are guys like that. And they're going to be talking about how to make your home safe. So these are important conversations that are coming up. So anytime that you're interested in volunteering, anytime that you're interested in classes or things that we're up to with helping seniors, for Pete's sake, give us a call. 321-473-7770 is the number. Well, we have half a minute left. Bill, final thought on volunteering for seniors.
Well, I just wanted to bring up one thing. If you're interested in volunteering for Aging Matters or the Alzheimer's Foundation, you can get their phone number and information from Helping Seniors of Brevard.
Absolutely. We're not proprietary. Like I said, it takes a village, and we're all in this thing together. Well, that is the time that we have for Helping Seniors Radio on this Wednesday. We sure look forward to seeing you right back here next week. Same station. Same time.